Welcome to Mending Threads, your safe place and stronghold for whole body wellness. Today we're going to talk about our transitional and transformational series is going to focus on special needs children. And we're talking about this because of the trauma circumstances with the pandemic, with the change in scenery for children from schoolroom to home to the computer, and looking at those changes and the impact upon the learning process. So today we want to look at special needs children, and we have with us, our guest is going to be Dr. Lynn and Reverend Samuel Massey from Real Life Christian Church. And I think it's Dr. Lynn Dixon who's going to be with us. And we have a wealth of knowledge and information that she's going to impart for us and help us look at what are the interventions that we need to make within our church community, within our general community, and within the school setting. So you have a good show today, and I'll listen to hear from you after the show. Thank you. Good morning, Reverend Massey. How are you? So we have with us this morning Reverend Samuel Massey from Real Life Christian Church. And this morning we have as a topic helping special needs children in the pandemic. But of course, we're going to look at those special topics. And we have been discussing trauma and stress and different stressors that have come into our home, our church, and our community, and the ways in which we're going to respond to those. And it's just a lot of stress in how we need to decide everything every day, every moment. And so, Reverend Massey, one of the things is that many of the churches are wondering how they're going to go back into church and how the children are going to accommodate and families. And I thought maybe this morning, I know we have a special guest this morning, but I wanted to talk with you about faith health in your church and the topic of helping special needs children in the pandemic. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing in your church around the pandemic?
And are you relating to the special needs or just
Well, I'm just trying to see what you're doing. What are you doing in your church around the pandemic period for families?
Okay, well, basically, one of the things that we had a food drive for children, and we gave out 200 lunches for children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So are those the lunches where they could come up and they're able to pick it up from their trunk of their car and take it for the rest of the week, where they have food for the rest of the week?
A whole week, 7-day supply.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
200 children.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
And so we did that in June, and we're going to do it again in August.
Yes.
And if it goes well, we'll continue with that even after that we do in August.
I think so.
We've also had some prayer visuals for the community. In fact, we had one last night where we were outside in front of the building, mm-hmm. and we were praying for the community, praying for the city, praying for the nation. And we were just kind of praying in the airways. We had the sound system. We had about 15 prayer warriors out there just interceding for the whole nation, for Texas, for the whole world.
Yes. Okay.
So those are the types of things that we're doing, you know, and we also plan to have a visual workshop, and it will be a diabetes workshop where we will be training people to how to live a healthy life, mm-hmm. with diabetes.
And follow up monitoring, I understand it, Is that the one we're partnering with, that you're going to be doing the monitoring so people can sign up for their monitoring?
Yes,
Mhm.
monitoring their weight, um, their blood pressure, the A1C, all those different things that the issues that they would normally have as a diabetic.
Mhm. And kind of important, particularly around now, because the stressors that we're encountering exacerbates the symptoms and what people experience during diabetes, you see. And so research has
Yes,
shown that actually some intervention needs to go on about this particular time so that we could decrease blood pressure difficulties and diabetes. And also receive some information talking with the person from MD Anderson that they're now looking at the inflammation during this period of time where it's increasing the symptoms, the cancer symptoms when people are diagnosed with cancer because of the stressors around the pandemic, you see. And so I think that,
yeah.
yes, this is pretty important. I know we have a topic today in terms of special needs, and your church is one of the faith health partners. And because you have recognized the needs of integrating whole body wellness with belief building within your church. And so I was wondering, can you talk a little bit about your experience with special needs?
Well, basically, because I have some special need children in my family. Um, my sister has a special need um son, and then my son, special needs person as well. And so, as a result, it kind of piqued our interest in helping people with special needs.
Mhm,
And so, at Real Life, we have a summer camp
mhm,
each year dealing with special needs children. And the focus of the summer camp is to teach community based learning and independence so that each student is well prepared for high school and college. And
mhm.
each day, the students visit various schools and places and programs with the focus geared to hands on instruction,
Hmm,
also
mhm.
to enhance their interest for the future, and then to teach them so they could be employed and use independent living, because some of them at one point in time
I know the weather is bad and we're doing our distancing. So what can you talk a
so
little
we
bit about
train
what
them.
kind of training you're doing? Yes. I can't
Yeah,
hardly.
well, basically is the training deals with all the different places that we take them to. We have them actually doing things that everybody else do. We take them swimming, we take them to amusement parks, we
Mhm,
take them to places like NASA, we take them to the library, we take them to radio stations, television stations,
mhm.
and so expose them to all type of environments where they get a chance to experience those environments. So if they have a desire to do something like that, they will have been exposed to it in advance. And so
Mhm.
they might say, I want to do this one day, I want to do that one day. And so they actually get a chance to meet people that might be willing to allow them to work in those environments, but tell them the things that they need to learn in order to be a part of that environment.
Because
And
I know that
so,
some of the theorists talk about that once you're in an environment that it actually stimulates your thinking, but also it makes a connection, especially when they get a chance to try out some of the things to see how it works and whatever, that actually is a connection between particularly for special needs many times, that because the tactile learning is so, it's like they have to sense it, feel it. We all learn better when we're able to be there and engage in it. So this is really an important thing that you're doing. Really is. Hmm. Do they get a chance to
Right.
write about it, or do they get a chance to talk about that? Because I would like for them sometime to share their experiences of what they've learned, and what has been the most important. So do they get a chance to ever express it, to see what was the
Yeah.
most? Hmm.
Yes. Once they go to different sites, then they're brought back to the church
Hmm.
to talk about their experiences, and there are also planned workshops at the church
Right.
where they can get involved in writing, art, different learning activities.
Hmm.
Uh, Not only that, they get a chance to get involved in things that kind of bring hand on, like taking them to the Red Cross, where they can be taught CPR and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
Things that everybody else get a chance to learn and do, then they get a chance to learn and do that, and then come back to the church and talk about that, talk about their experiences with whatever event or activity that they were involved in that day.
Yes. Hmm. Now that sounds good. I would like to see some of those videos sometime, and I'd like to, and I really would like to put some of their responses in the newsletter and maybe bring them on the show sometime so that they could share with other children and other young people about how important. And one of the things is that I'm just so glad that you're moving with and doing the Faith Health Initiative, that you're actually doing it and helping the community. I know we're talking about in August or September doing an outdoor event with the Boy Scouts and whatever. So I'm assuming that some of the special needs children are involved with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
Well, no, not they're not actually a part of the Boy Scouts. So no, I would say no to that.
Okay. So they're not. Is there a reason why they're not, or because I don't know is if it's is
Well, with Boy Scouts, I mean, uh,
explored it?
we haven't explored that, and we don't have any special need person that's a scout. I'll put it like that. And
Uh-huh.
so it's not that they couldn't be, it's just that we don't have any in our group that's a part of Boy
Mm,
Scout
okay.
or Girl Scout.
Okay then. Okay then. So that would be something to see, to wonder about. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to this. So I know that we have a guest that's going to come on, and that is Miss Lynn Dixon. And I understand that she has such a rich background in special needs. And so I'm wondering if you do, can you introduce some things about her that you might be aware of? I know that um, I received some information that she is practicing that, and over the years have been involved with special needs, and that she has explored and studied um, and with the Peace Corps, and that she has also been active with interventions in West Africa. And so we'll find out about that today. Welcome, Miss Dixon. Can you hear us? Miss Dixon, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, welcome to Mending Threads this morning. And
Yes.
so I'm glad that you're joining in on our discussion. We're with Reverend Pastor Samuel Massey from Real Life Christian Church. And I'm so glad that you could be with us this morning. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with special needs, and how you got into this whole area in the first place? What brought you to this area?
Well, a good morning. Well, And thank you guys for having me on. I hope you can hear me. This special education process
you
of
can
mine
turn your
began
volume up a
way
little
back,
bit.
I guess.
You can turn your volume up a little bit.
Can I do what?
You can turn your volume up a little bit.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Me. Okay. All right. The question was, how did I get started in this? Well, way back, I guess way back. Well, in the 70s, I finished an undergrad degree at Southern University in elementary education with emphasis in special ed. And I was very interested in that population at the time and continued with it throughout my career. I later graduated from Southern University with that degree, and I went to West Africa and Peace Corps with Peace Corps. Peace Corps didn't know me. I didn't know them, didn't know where I was going. They did not know who they were getting. And I got there and went into Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa. And I took on a program for physically handicapped students at Shershan Homes. And I stayed 2 years there and developed programs for them, working with the embassy to bring in materials for them, working with orthopedic folk in the community to build crutches because we were limited. And we did a lot of things to get our kids out of the homes, which was an inclusive setting for physically handicapped kids that was not designed appropriately. But anyway, we made it through. Can you hear me?
Yes. I just hear a
I
little noise in the
later
back.
came back from Peace Corps after the 2 years. Oh, the sound is awful. I'm here.
Okay, then. So I can hear you.
Did I need to mute something?
So you
Okay.
were saying that.
And
Mhm.
upon my completion with Peace Corps, that was most interesting. I can't hear you.
I could hear you. Can you?
Okay, and I got your question.
So I was trying to ask, how did you get into this? So when you were in Sierra Leone, you got in through the physical special needs with physical needs at that particular time, trying to integrate them into
At that
education.
particular time,
Mhm, mhm.
yes, even in Africa, I had an inclusive program because the children that I worked with who were physically handicapped, I allowed, with my funds and the help of others, to provide services to them so that they can be involved with what's called quote unquote regular education in Sierra Leone, which was a private setting. So
Yeah,
fees were paid for several of our students to go to this private setting because what we found out, and I always knew, that because they were physically handicapped did not constitute a strong mental disability. And if they were able to function physically as well as mentally, then I was able to put them in private settings.
I see.
I went on and did that and created programs for.
So I guess what I'm trying, what do you think was the most important thing that you derived from that setting that you could use now? What did you find out in that setting that would be helpful to special needs children or families?
What, your question? Let me hear your question again.
I said, what did you, the experience that you had there in Sierra Leone, what do you think was the most impactful experience that you could bring to any other setting with families that have special needs? What did you gain from that that would be helpful to families that have special needs or special needs
Well,
children?
after that, okay, after that experience in itself, because that experience, I had to be very resourceful because I didn't have the materials and things that I actually needed to design the program, but it worked with what I had. I came back into the United States and continued to work in the field of special education.
Mhm.
I worked in New Orleans for a while. I worked in New York for a while. I went back to Louisiana and did some work with special needs. So I went on and got a master's degree in international studies with emphasis in education, which
Mhm.
allowed me to look at experiences I had overseas. I
Mhm.
came back in New Orleans and got a master's degree, another master's degree, special education with emphasis in the emotionally disturbed
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
and I worked that particular program at a school where I was the building principal of an alternative in New Orleans. Kids, I had street kids, I had what we call our bad kids, but they were emotionally, the majority of them were emotionally disturbed based on sometimes the environment, the family home, medical, or whatever, got them into being in that condition of the disturbance.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I call it environmental.
I worked with
Environmental.
that population. Then I moved to Houston. And I've been in Houston now for
I know we can't hear you right now. I know the weather's freezing you over there. We didn't hear that. Hmm. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, okay then.
I can hear you.
Okay then. And so you've been in this area. So you know the topic that we have today. You were left off the last that I heard. You were really talking about how environmental stressors, how our response to them and the things that we encounter sometimes gets us identified in different categories, and
Yes.
it's really our response to what's going on around us, and how we're trying to deal with and overcome those things that are so stressful, or the demands that we have on us. And I mean, we all do that in different ways. So I noticed that you were talking about being creative, and how you learn to handle that and developing tools and whatever. So can you talk a little bit about, because this is really right now, this is a big thing in the school system, with children being um, identified with different diagnoses and needs. And so I'm really more interested in how the strategies that are best suited for different types of behaviors that you've encountered. So, could you talk a little bit about the environmental stressors and how you create things to respond to the children's um, needs?
As we're in the pandemic, uh, we started in March working with our kids and getting them, the special needs kids who were identified as some of them were with autism, some of them had just learning disabilities, um, so ID, we call it now, with mental disabilities. And we worked with those kids who were functioning and got them online. And
Mhm.
I worked with a very dynamic teacher. We worked and got them online. So that in itself addressed some of the stresses for our kids. Because although we weren't in the classroom with them where you give the hands-on and all that emotional and social support, we were able to be online with them every morning. And they saw our faces, we heard their voices and saw their faces, and
Mhm.
that subsided some of the stress. So
Mhm.
that was one thing we did. And we continued the, and that helped a great deal. It also helped parents because a lot of parents had to learn to log in and we communicated with them and it minimized the stressors. It
Mhm.
created some stresses because some folk didn't know how to use the technology. So
Yes.
it did create some stress. But once they did learn, it minimized. It minimized. Just that support helped to minimize things with our kids as well as our parents.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That
So I was getting ready to say also, I can hear that you're also bringing a good connection between the children and the parents through a learning experience. You see, as whereas in school, the parents were kind of like separate. You know, they were engaging and supporting the children to go. But now this is a real good experience where you're making an intervention while you even bringing the parents together with their children. Mhm. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
so your question is
I was responding to your saying that you are helping the children and also bring an opportunity of bringing the parents in and the parents having to engage with the computers. So I was saying that also this relational experience that you're bringing forth and helping the parents with the children is bringing them closer together. If you began to look at that, the bonding experience through learning, because before, when they were in the school setting, the parents were separate from the children and through with the learning experience. So this is really a good little new little intervention.
correct.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how you capitalize
And
on that coming together, that bonding, because we do an intergenerational program called Wisdom Building. And I was wondering how you're capitalizing on that around the behaviors, you know, the response. How do you use that while they're working on the computers coming together? How have you used that to help the children move forth in the home?
well, I think once we get parent buy-in, kids understand that parents are genuinely concerned
Yes.
about learning and their needs.
Mm-hmm.
There's one buy-in. The needs population so big more because parents are already dealing with the fact that I have the special needs. I have to deal with the medical, the social, the emotional, all the educational things that are going on with my child.
Yeah.
And now I have to go into another learning mode of teaching a child online or being utilizing
Yes.
technology as well as myself.
Yeah.
So one of the things, yes, one of the things that I truly enjoyed is working with parents.
Mm-hmm.
I did my doctorate on the effects of parental involvement
Yeah.
when giving kids incentives and teacher interaction
Yeah.
and student attendance. Now that was the thesis, but that was in 2005.
Yeah.
I'm knowing that today that this stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I need to take, so I'm looking at just utilizing it with my parents. I think if I can get a strong parenting program, my special needs population will grow because parents will understand.
Well, I tell you, I'm so excited about what we're talking about. I just had my meeting on yesterday, and we were talking about how we're going to do the parenting and intergenerational program in the churches. And so, what we're doing right now with our Faith Health Initiative, we've expanded the program, and we're having, they're developing four um, educational pods in Houston and between the Third Ward and Sunnyside areas, which we've been planning on this for some time. And what we're doing is very much what we're speaking about, and that we are including the churches to, we're trying to get the churches to rev up the Faith Health Initiative within their church and look at special needs as well as other all persons, but also to begin to look at how parents can become more engaged with their children and how grandparents are so effective. in bringing this about, that we've forgotten about our ancestors and the connection with learning. So I'm just so excited to hear you about that. So I was wondering, how have you and Pastor Massey discussed, because Pastor Massey is one of our lead churches in the community, and I was looking at how you and Pastor Massey have looked at the whole idea of special needs in the community and in the church. Either one of you can talk about it.
To be honest
Well,
with you,
actually,
no, we have not. But this morning we are.
Very good. So, you know, that's what
I
this is
think this
all about.
morning.
You didn't know that we were what they call lassoing you up in here, right? As they say.
Yes.
Yes, but we've been all excited about this,
One
and
of the things
I didn't hear you.
I one of the things that I've done in churches as well as communities is program effective. It was effective Black parenting training.
Yes, yes, yes.
But now I tend to utilize effective parenting training because it's work now. It's everyone, and our churches are are just diverse. So we must address all the issues in our churches with parents. So
Yes,
there are some things that I can come to Dr. Massey's church and assist with, and we build in that parenting area. I would, yeah, that would be something
yes.
we
And it
can
would
really,
actually
really get
be,
involved with once the and once
I think so. I think that we're doing, I think that that would be so helpful to the community. We haven't planned a parenting, um, as you say, involvement program with all of the children. And part of it would be virtual, and part of it would be from each church, where we would use the mass area in each church, and we will televise from the church, and we'll also bring people into the church and distance them. Okay, and but people come in and test the air quality and things like that. But we're looking at how we can make a difference. And when I say make a difference, I mean a noticeable difference in changing behaviors and how people view the frustration that children have. You know, let me say it like this. So when in teaching, if you pay attention, they have taken out of the curriculum um, exercise, they've taken out drama, they've taken out all kinds of movement, and in requiring children in many cases to sit still for hours and hours. And there's new research that I'm not able to cite right now that I have read from the National Institute of Mental Health that states that when the person is not able to move, it decreases their ability to learn and to actually integrate everything. And so, what I'm looking at is that we need to include, whether special need or not, to begin to discuss in churches how we can bring all of the learning in, how we could have a belief system, how we could have movement, how we can integrate all of the things with all of the children through parents, because the parents would have to learn how to implement this in their home. Not learn necessarily, but reinforce it. Because many of us already know what to do. Mhm. So I guess what I'm asking you is to let's talk. Can we talk a little bit about all of the things that you've mentioned? And you seem to have a wealth of understanding, not knowledge, but a wealth of understanding of how to connect all of this within a natural environment, the natural home environment, the natural church environment. So I guess I'm asking you for some pointers, some recommendations and pointers of what we might need to include that we may not have considered. And that would be for both of you.
as this is as we operate in the churches.
In the churches, and the
Some
community. Mhm, mhm.
in the community.
church and
Well,
community.
one of the things, uh, we have to make sure as to parents connected. And one of the I like as a resource I use is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Parenting. Stephen Covey does a wonderful job with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take that parameter and you can move it into children, to churches. I've done it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective Greeters at the church. So there are many aspects that you can take this particular month and go into the community and the churches with. Just making sure parents, number one, are proactive, that they know what's going on. They know what their children need. They're the front line people to us. They let us know in the homes, in the school, what their children are in need of. And they know them better than we do. So we need to make sure our parents are proactive and that they're willing and that they're successful and that they're comfortable in coming to us as educators, as lay people, as doctors, as ministers, and sharing with us the things that are going on with their children.
Mm-hmm.
We then can offer them the support. And I truly believe that once parents understand the needs of their children, it makes things better. It makes generation from generation to generation. It makes things much better.
Yes, yes.
There's several things that can be done in terms of building parent involvement and making sure parents know what it is they want. What do you want for your child?
Yes,
Tell
yes.
us directly, and we can see what resources and things that we can work with our children. I think that's a tool to use. Habits of effective parenting
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
teaching that lesson to parents. Have parents lesson. See, it's not just telling parents. We need to sit parents down in audiences and teach them just like sometimes we teach our children at a higher level, but we need to educate them. So that's the first step would be to educate our parents.
So I like what you're saying because what we're doing is
That's
trying
a
to follow up with each church
go
to
ahead.
find out what you mentioned the needs. So one of the things that we're asking churches is when they're giving out their meals, their food and whatever, instead of just passing the food out only, to actually interview and find out what the needs are. So we have actually distributed forms, and then we're getting ready to follow up with the individuals who filled out, completed the forms. So we pass out the forms during the time that they pick up their meals from the churches, and then follow up with them to have a meeting at the churches or either a virtual meeting to really look at what do they need in their homes, in their community to make their life more fulfilled from their perspective. Okay, so I think you're right. Or you're
Yes.
right there in terms of that's right, what we need to do. So I know that we'll be following up with all the churches this month, and we've completed. We now have about 500 forms completed, but we need probably many, many more to get a better idea, and then we're going to organize them in a form in terms of areas, in terms of needs. But right there. I'm so glad we're having this meeting of the mind this morning on on the children, because so long we've gone on with the plan as usual, and we're just going on. So sometimes things come to us and they seem very stressful. But I think this time, many things have gone on. We have lost people. But when I step back and I look at it, I say, what are we learning? What we're learning is that we're needing now to reinvent and to refocus on what is important and take another look at what needs to happen. You see, and I think that this is a good time for that. I do want to say thank you for being here today. But before we leave, I wanted to ask both you and Reverend Massey to to give me some pointers for moving forward. And now you've given me two or three, because we are instituting the parenting program from a cultural format. And we do have a bilingual person. So we'll primarily be looking at uh, this culture in Houston and people who come to Houston as to how they acclimate and what the stressors are. And then we'll be looking at the history of persons who participate. So and we'll be including that. We've already gotten our people. So I'm looking for us to follow up with you and Reverend Massey in terms of implementing um, and the program in the next 30 days. We must have everything organized by August, the end of August. Okay. So, okay then. Well, thank you so much for being with us, and I'm gonna look forward to your pointers. And today was a real moving forward with the topic. And we're going to do this again, and we'll probably be doing it on September. And we'll be looking at special activities for children during the pandemic, during that period of time. Thank you. So if you have any questions for me before the end of the show, I'd appreciate it. And I'm listening with all ears open. Well, thank you now. Thank you so much for being here on Mending Threads and bringing a wealth of knowledge. And I'll be following up with both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'd like to thank Dr. Lynn Dixon for being with us today, and Reverend Samuel Massey from Real Life Christian Church, helping us to bring to fruition for our interventions with special need children within the school, the home, and the community. I want you to then send information back to our website, wrc-houston.com, and let us know what topics you would like to hear in our next shows. And I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you now, and have a great day.